paragraph. American Jews have been indoctrinated into Israeli propaganda machine is infuriating. What do you mean? What is this?
Some American Jews who come here say, we came to Israel and we left from Palestine.
Wait, is
the
there a
non-Jewish
TOS in
community
this?
does not understand our obsession with Israel.
I went to a Jewish day school.
Summer camp, organized trips to Israel.
You want to go to Israel too? Yeah! We want to go! We want to go!
Israeli soldiers, they're hot, they're awesome, they're strong.
We actually have had quite a few of our former students join the IDF. And these are kids, these are 18, 19-year-olds. Amazing.
I told my parents I don't even need to apply to college. I'm gonna just join the Israeli military.
10% of my graduating class joined the Israeli army.
We were deployed to the West Bank.
I don't think I realized the extent to which what I would come to see on the ground would really shock me and horrify me.
When people look at the West Bank today,
I never know. Anytime I see like Israeli military operations, I have to fucking click away automatically because it's gonna be some of the most horrifying shit you've ever seen in your life. Okay, is there TOS in this fucking in this trailer?
and say this is an apartheid system, it's not just throwing out a word.
Palestinians live in their.
By the way, thank you, Calm Like Tom, for the 20 gifted subs, allowing 20 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. I keep forgetting to fucking do the 3-minute ad break today because I've been so hyper-focused on coverage, some of which has been very serious and very critical. So, but thank you. What is this? Important question. Do you think Serbia will start another war in Balkan with the situation happening in Kosovo right now? Dude, I don't fucking know. Jesus Christ. I hope not. This couldn't be more true. I was told in second grade by my religious school teacher that Palestinians were terrorist dogs who deserved to be wiped off from the face of the earth. The kind of intense indoctrination worked on me. Luckily, I saw the light eventually, but it's super effective on the youth. Yeah, I know. Espada Trez 3, thank you for the 10 gift the subs. I think one of the most cynical aspects of this is that there is a real, understandable fear that every Jewish person has because of Jewish history, of pogroms, of constantly being, from all the way from the original sin to constantly be like the bad guys in every fucking story. So there is a very real fear that every Jewish person has. At least this is what I feel like I've experienced. Like I've noticed from all of my Jewish friends, and many of which are normies and don't even have like many of which are normies and do actually want to defend Israel unconditionally. So I feel like that very real fear that exists to this day, and like I guess the generational trauma, right, is kind of weaponized to prop up this apartheid state, to be like, dude, they came for you World War II, they came for you in the pogroms, like, you need to have a strong military presence, and you need to have a Jewish nation state, and like, don't look at what the fuck we're doing there, by the way, but from afar, support it, okay? Why don't you do a fundraiser for Palestine for reputable people like this org? The PCRF, fear not, I'm working on it. It's not just the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, but there is another fund that is the British one. Fuck, what is it called? Am I wrong for thinking Hamas shot themselves in the foot with some of their actions? Bro, what do you... Yes, you are wrong. Gaza Medical Aid. Yes. Anyway, listen. Here's why you're wrong, okay? Here's why you're wrong. It doesn't fucking matter what they do. Okay? It doesn't fucking matter what they do. The Israeli state has been violent and brutal and oppressive to Palestinians, regardless of whether fucking Hamas or any Palestinian pushes back or not. Okay? And that violence is a constant. This is the final Hail Mary. You know what I mean? Like if Hamas is like shooting the Palestinians in the foot, Israel is shooting them in the head. You know? There is no There's nothing. Like the international opinion of Hamas does not change the everyday existence for Palestinians who are brutalized by the Israeli occupation. And I use the example of the West Bank. The reason why I use the example of the West Bank is because they're not Hamas affiliated, right? They're supposed to be living reasonably and comfortably, and yet they are still occupied by Israel, and Israel is fucking ruining their lives, and they're getting fucked every goddamn day. So what happened? They're the perfect victims, right? They sit back, and they get brutalized every fucking day. So where is your support? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the world thinks. Israel is going to do whatever the fuck it wants. The New Jersey Devils hockey team just made an official statement. Yeah, the Miami Heat did too, which is pretty funny. Judging by some of the clips going around here, the number of Israelis killed, wounded by friendly fire must be huge. Yeah, there is a lot of... The Middle East Observer is saying the Hebrew media claims that there is chaos in the Gaza cover. Injuries and accidental killers are increasing as the settlers refuse to stop for their army, thinking that they are Hamas members disguised in Israeli army uniforms, and the army responds with fire from the settlers who refuse order to stop because they believe the settlers are Palestinians. I said this already. This is like a huge problem. This is a fucking huge problem because now you can't do fucking checkpoints and see who's Palestinian and who's Israeli. And guess what? They all fucking look the same. Anyone who tells you that Israelis and Palestinians look different from one another is wrong, okay? As a matter of fact, they look the same so much that there was a very long period in time where the Israeli, the Arab Jews were literally discriminated against. Like historically discriminated against by a Jew of a higher class, who then turned around and became the most militant faction, like Ben Gvir. Palestinians are brown. Bitch, what do you think Israelis look like? I'm not talking about fucking a dude from the Bronx, okay? I'm talking like Arab Jews. Like, what do you think they look like? They are fucking Semitic people. They're Semites. Huh. He said it because he was making an example of historic scapegoating that the fucking Nazis used. You literally said base Nazi propaganda, you fucking dumbass. What are you talking about? You are absolutely correct. Generational drama runs so deep, and I struggle with its effects every day. Jews are hypervigilant. Unfortunately, Israeli Jews and powers hypervigilism can be weaponized. Oh, I don't know what you were talking about. I don't know what this is for. So... HasanAbi, they look like Jesus who had blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean, there are obviously like Slav Jews. There's some controversy to the Israeli nation state's interest in like beefing up their white Jewish population. That is also a completely separate point of contention and has also caused a lot of issues in Israel as well. Because, like, remember, Israel is not a fucking monolith. They might have a monolithic approach to, like, the maintenance of the apartheid state, but even then they don't have that because there's plenty of people who don't want that. So, okay, but Israel's population isn't mainly Arab Jews, it's Ashkenazi. Yeah, well, you know, Israel is supposed to be a nation state for all Jews, right? Except for Ethiopian Jews, maybe? I don't know. Where did you get this all of Israel is Ashkenazi number? Anyway. Funny thing is a Mizrahi Jew whose dad is from Syria. There's a bunch of Mizrahi Jews in Turkey. Yeah, here. This is what I was gonna. Whoa, 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 whoa! Fuck! Jesus Christ! Okay, luckily nothing happened. Holy shit! I was worried. Fucking. No, the person falls before anything is shown anyway. But 7 IDF soldiers were killed by firing at each other at the Lebanese border, thinking they were fighting Hezbollah units. As of 2005, 61% of Israeli Jews were of full or partial Mizrahi ancestry. So that is happening. Last night, 2 elite units killed each other because, again, a lot of Jews in Israel and a lot of Palestinians look pretty fucking similar. The only difference is one is speaking Hebrew and the other speaking Arabic, but they also know each other's languages. So if you don't have a constant surveillance apparatus ensuring that like the people allowed inside are properly accredited and have passports and shit, all of a sudden you reach bedlam. It's a more unique situation than even the apartheid in South Africa. Do you understand? Because in the apartheid in South Africa, well, you know who's fucking black, right? They even had like really gross, disgusting fucking tests to figure out exactly how black someone is. You know, they had the pencil test. For those of you who don't know, they would take a pencil and they would shove it in the hair of a person. And if it stuck in their hair, they were like, okay, you're black. You at least have some level of black in you in order to oppress them more correctly, because there were people who were race mixing, which is illegal. So, like the passbook in South Africa, but even harder to tell, obviously. Exactly. Like racism, ironically, requires a lot of effort, okay? You can have like a racist white supremacist government run on autopilot like the United States of America, but if you want to be like extra racist and have the maintenance of an apartheid state, when you push it further, when you push that racism so much further that like you have to legislate it, that shit is hard, bro. That's not easy. You can't be fucking racist 100% of the time. Sometimes you're like, damn, bro, maybe the fucking Palestinian dude's got some good ass food. You know what I mean? It's like hard. You have to keep it up. You have to keep it up all the time. The maintenance of a racist state is difficult, just like the maintenance of racism 100% of the time is difficult. Okay? And you have to figure out how to be correctly racist. So that's the point. It's very difficult for them to figure out who the fuck is Palestinian and who's Hamas and who's just like a regular settler, because as you saw in the video I showed you earlier of the settler bullying the shit out of the Arab dude, how are you going to know that dude is not Hamas? He's in fucking flip-flops with a goddamn AR-15. Is he Hamas or is he a settler? Have fun. Have fun figuring that out.
Day in, day out, without experiencing a day of freedom.
You see what non-democracy looks like.
What we've been told is that the only way that Jews can be safe is if Palestinians are not safe. The more I learned about that, the more I came to see that as a lie.
Within the Jewish community,
the goat. Well, the AR-15 throws it off. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They have the same guns. What the fuck are they supposed? How are you know? How do you know who's a Jewish settler from fucking Brooklyn and who is actually coming across the border? Even if this map shows many areas of Israel are still Arab. Yeah. There's the Palestinian Arab Muslims that are under Israeli, living inside of Israeli territory that experience a shit ton of oppression as well. You have Syrian Arab Muslims. You have Syrian Arab Druze. You have, this is it's not just Jewish Israelis. We call them the 48 Arabs. Yeah, the ones that were able to get Israeli citizenship. They never repeated that again, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were like a one-off. How many atheists are in Israel? Oh my God, atheists, shut the fuck up. What is this? I am old enough to remember 2001 when many adults advocated nonviolence after the police murdered Timothy Thomas in Cincinnati, almost all of whom turned to believers of the transformative power of overwhelming violence that September when hijackers destroyed the Twin Towers. The world would be better off if it had more actual committed principled pacifists. But I suggest that what we have instead are mostly people who believe that violence is only the legitimate province of some people and what is morally required of everyone else is submission. The special pleading for the violence of states while insisting on nonviolence as a categorical principle is most certainly a moral stance. But not one on violence itself so much as it is at bottom a commitment to the moral perspective that underlies apartheid to begin with. We, the elect, live in a special moral universe, and among the many things that we do not owe you down there, alongside housing, water, and freedom of movement and safety, is justification. Whatever this perspective is, it is not nonviolent in any sense that matters. Okay, you sent me the... Yeah, the idea that the oppressed should sit back and take it so that we in the Western world can have a more favorable position towards them and can like defend them in a justifiable manner is demonstrably false because they have been taking it. They've been taking it nonstop since the inception of the Israeli state. Okay? And some of you motherfuckers only recently woke up to that reality, and even then it never stopped. Like, that didn't stop the Israeli state from being violent, okay?
There's been a striking change.
They're really angry at the way they were indoctrinated, justifiably so.
When we talk about we're losing the kids, we lost them. I think they're a little super naive.
Anytime you cut against the grain, you're going to catch hell.
You are a self-loathing Jew. Go kill yourself. An anti-Semitic Jew.
The way that we talk about anti-Semitism isn't about protecting Jews, it's about protecting Israel. How dangerous is that?
Yep.
They will do anything to preserve unconditional support for Israel.
The great irony is that there actually is resurgent anti-Semitism.
Jews will not replace us!
History is not going to judge us kindly.
I've seen so many libs and anarchists say the Palestinians should just do mutual aid and buy stuff. Yes, anarchists are unserious people. And liberals are even more unserious. Okay, stop. Stop telling me what anarchists and liberals are saying. I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Okay. Israel warns Gaza to prepare retaliation following a surprise attack.
Well, it's now 24 hours since the beginning of a surprise attack by Hamas against Israel. Here are the key developments in the conflict as they stand this Sunday morning. Israel's prime minister has warned Gazans to prepare for retaliation and says his country is about to embark on a long and difficult war. More than 250 Israelis have died, and the toll on the Palestinian side has been put at least 230. Gun battles are continuing in...
So how many people have died so far? Because I don't know what the actual numbers are now. Israel retaliates after Hamas attacks. Death pass 1,100. Some Israelis do not know if loved ones are dead or alive. Israel pounded the Palestinian enclave of Gaza on Sunday, killing hundreds of people. In retaliation of one of the bloodiest attacks, they killed 700 and abducted like 200 more. I understand this also impacts the USA, but in what ways politically does it impact the USA? I mean, not necessarily. NYPD has a police office in Tel Aviv. Yeah, I mean... Last I read was 700 Israeli and 400 Palestinians. Fox was reporting 600,000 Israel dead. 600,000 people in Israel are dead. Like, As in, Fox was reporting that a nuclear bomb was set up inside of Israel. Is that what Fox was reporting? You cannot kill 600,000 people in one day, chatter. Hello? What? Wait, what do you mean? They had to type on the teleprompter. It says 600 dead, 2K injured. Oh. Okay. No, they probably got the number wrong. They probably were reporting 600, even 600K, even 600,000 injured is really a lot. Like, there's no way. If you look at the articles, most of them say Israelis got killed, but Palestinians died. Yes, that is true as well. I mean, you could, just not with Hamas's capabilities. Yes, you cannot. Hamas does not have the fucking capabilities of killing 600,000 people. That is insane. The Associated Press is saying it's 700 dead. And more than 400 have been killed in Gaza, except we don't know what the actual number is in Gaza, for the record, because Gaza doesn't have electricity. So we don't know what that number is going to look like by the end of this entire process, because Israel has shut off its electricity. And for the record, yes, they believe that Americans have been killed as well. The declaration of war pretended greater fighting ahead, and a major question of whether Israel would launch a ground assault in the Gaza. Someone was saying 250 people just alone in the festival died. And I don't know if that was like, if that was as many 1,000 Hamas fighters took in an unprecedented incursion. The rampage included an assault on a music festival where more than 250 were killed. That's crazy. No, now the number has reached up to 260. It's more than 250. It's 260. Just in the festival alone. 700 Israelis dead, but 10% probably. No. What is more likely is that most of the civilian casualties most likely come from the festival. I noticed a lot of outlets specifying a difference between militants and civilians for Israelis, but not Palestinians. Yeah. They're also saying entire IDF brigades were wiped out. It has to be way, way more than 700. Yeah. I don't know why they're saying 700. I think the number might be larger than 700 on the Israeli casualty side. Now they're saying 1,000. Some are saying 1,000 people have died on the Israeli side. But, like, it doesn't fucking make sense. Because they have wiped out entire fucking brigades and shit. Not like brigades maybe, but they've wiped out entire police precincts.
Several parts of Israel. Hamas gunmen have taken hostages, although some are reported to have been released. There are some reports on rockets being fired from Lebanon into northern Israel. The militant group Hezbollah have said they did it. The UN Security Council will meet later on Sunday. President Biden has vowed rock-solid support for Israel and warned against other countries taking advantage of the situation. Well, let's show you live pictures from Gaza now. All is relatively quiet on the streets. No surprise, as we've just mentioned, people have been told to shelter inside. We know that airstrikes have continued just in the past few hours. We've seen renewed Israeli airstrikes overnight. It's responded to Hamas's attack with devastating airstrikes, including some in the last little while. The United States is working with other governments to calm the situation. Several Middle Eastern countries, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, have been in contact to coordinate efforts to contain the violence. The UN Security Council will discuss the crisis at an emergency meeting on Sunday. Simon Jones has the latest.
What Israel is describing as its mighty vengeance on the Palestinian militant group Hamas Overnight, Gaza has been rocked by explosions. Earlier, warplanes hit several buildings in the center of the city.
Those are, again, for those of you who do not understand, those are civilian buildings. Like, what is this? Felix with a... Dude, don't show me Felix takes while this is happening, because I feel like he's going to say some unhinged shit. And then even if I laugh at him saying some unhinged shit for a brief moment, there's like motherfuckers in here that are waiting for me to like to slip up so they can be like, look, Hasan fucking is so callous. He's so careless. He's a bad guy. No Felix tweets. No Felix tweets until the situation is better. People are going to say that anyway. Is this footage in Gaza? Yes, of course. Those buildings would be empty for context is like such a stupid fucking take. Dude, I know. Okay? I know. It still doesn't change the reality. People still die, first of all. And secondly, those are residential buildings. Blowing them up is completely unjustifiable just because you tossed in a fucking knocker right before you blew it down to the goddamn ground doesn't change the unjustifiable nature of bombing a residential building. I hate that. What? Yes, please. I hate when people are like, oh, this is the most moral army on the planet. They tell you before they're going to blow up your fucking building. Yeah, they've shot down a fucking a United Nations shelter. So what the fuck are you talking about? They shoot down hospitals, and then they say, oh, sorry, there's Hamas there. 260 were killed at a music festival. A festival similar to the one you and your friends would attend. 260 is more than most of us will be close to, more than most of us will be close with in our lives. And you go on about nonsense. Says Phenotype 1. Yeah, controversial opinion, I guess, or brave take, but I think it's really fucked up that 250 people died in a festival. I don't know why every single person that comes in here is criticizing not what I'm saying, but instead what they assume I'm saying. But of course, someone with the name Phenotype 1 having a weird, like having a pro-Israel take is I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of weirdos that are in here today. I cannot begin to explain to you, and not just on Indian Twitter, the amount of like Himmler 1488 accounts that I have seen that have also been celebrating how much Palestinians are going to get fucking ripped to shreds. It's so odd. Not just Indian Twitter, a lot of Indian Twitter as well. I just read a few minutes ago that there are currently, right now, 1,000 Palestinians engaging in one battle, and Israel called over 100K reservists. Those death tolls are literally going to skyrocket for real. Yeah. Carter had a tough stream with weirdos earlier, but of course you're getting them 2 to 3 times as bad. Yeah, I mean, dude, people were fantasizing openly online in subreddits and on Twitter about what I could potentially say about the situation and getting mad. They were making up hypotheticals about what I will say and getting mad at said hypotheticals. I had not even said anything at that point, and they were still fantasizing about it. Because the reality is, these people are not serious. They don't care about like ending suffering. They don't care about anything. They just care about like having drama, because drama is fun for them. And they will weaponize ongoing conflict. They will weaponize endless death tolls to justify said situation, because for them, it's not about like having a discussion. It's not about hearing out different opinions. It's not about like trying to genuinely find a solution. It's more about weaponizing any and every situation to bully and humiliate whoever their favorite content creator has decided is a bad person. You know? Yeah, it's literally the "you cheated on me in my dreams" girlfriend scenario, 100%. Anyway, we're gonna cover this now, which has some TOS in it, I suspect. At 2:30 to 2:20 to 2:30, there's dead bodies.
My village is a very beautiful one.
This is about the Nakba, okay? For those of you who are wondering how the Israeli state was formed.
Has a mountain full of trees of figs and grapes, and it faces the main road to Jerusalem.
This is a story about what happened here in 1948.
We are only 750 people, and everybody knows each other. I came from a big family. We lived a good life. We never expect to be massacred. It was a black spot in the history.
That history has been carefully concealed, purposefully distorted, and in the West, largely forgotten.
They put our village as an example with what they can do.
The massacre in this village was one of many in a series of catastrophic events that became known as the Nakba, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were violently displaced from their homeland in order to create the state of Israel.
In May of 1948, a new Jewish state, Israel, was born in a bath of blood.
The borders of Palestine have been changed forcefully over time, but historically, this region has been home to Palestinians for centuries, with hundreds of villages and thriving cities. One of them being the central city of Jerusalem, with holy sites important to Jewish, Christian, and Muslim people. By the late Ottoman Empire, Palestinians living here were overwhelmingly Muslim, with minority Christian and Jewish native populations too. But regardless of religion, Palestinians were often referred to as Arabs, people of the Arabic-speaking world, despite their distinctive culture.
Palestinians have long distinguished themselves as Ahl Palestine, or the people of Palestine. They developed a distinctive Arabic accent, they developed regional food, regional dress.
Needs 2,000 additional years of context. I can't tell. See, usually I can't tell if this is like some ultra-nationalist Israeli being like, we found some fucking coins like Netanyahu does every now and then, or if you're just like making fun of that. Because that position is so fucking ridiculous. And I genuinely don't know. Like, it's probably some Crusader LARPer. No, there is like, it could go in either direction where the people, there are a lot of people who are like, well, Jewish people were indigenous to the area 2,000 years ago. Okay. Which is like the classic take of like the real indigenous genocide is like conducted by Palestinians living there. This guy identifies as libertarian socialist. I can't tell. I can't tell if they're like memeing or being serious. And I feel like they're trying to make up their mind right now as well. It's stupid because technically the Chinese were in Xinjiang before Uyghurs, but nobody says the Uyghurs should leave Xinjiang because of their 1,300 years of history there. Like, what the fuck is that argument? Yeah. No, forcible expulsion of all peoples It's like, at what point, dude? At what point? At what point do we... It's like fucking saying we can colonize Africa because all people came from Africa. I feel like, I wonder if there's an argument there. Have like the Boers or anyone made that argument before? South Africa is technically ours because we come from Africa. We all come from Africa. You know what I mean? Like, it's ours because we're the real natives. You know? What about Ukraine and Russia law? I mean, it just depends. It's entirely dependent on who's making the argument and like what their cutoff is. You know what I mean? What did you just start? Yeah, dude. What do you even say the Israelis are the real indigenous people? I've heard it a lot. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. You just heard me. It's like saying Europeans are the real indigenous people in Africa. Like, there are people living there, okay? You can't do that. Also, everyone is Turkish, so that's the real answer. Yeah, Ukraine and Russia does not work because they have both been native to the land they currently live in. It's kind of actually the big point, the big historical point at the heart of this this problem as well. With Ukrainians saying that they were first and the Russians were the pig dogs. You know, the what was it, like Muscovite? Like the Russians are you know, mountain people or forest people that weren't as advanced as the Ukrainians were. Ultimately, oh yeah, Kievan Rus before it was Russia. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because they're all Turks. And by that I mean the Crimean Tatars were Turks, and everyone is Mongolian and also Turk, except for Hungarians who have strayed too far away from the path. They hate their own history too much, so they're not Turks. Except for the Hungarians, everyone else is Turkish. I've decided. Bro, Ottoman is even under this fucking rock as well. They're involved in everything in history ever. Okay, that is because the Ottoman Empire was an empire. When you are an empire, yes, of course, you have your hand in everything. That is the reason why, especially as it pertains to Palestine, yes, the Ottoman rule is important.
Dress and family ties.
But by the time World War I began, several key political forces were competing for control of these lands. First, there was a growing Arab... Magyars are Turks. What the fuck? No, they're not. They've strayed away too far from the beaten path. Okay? They're too embarrassed to be considered Turks. They're like, oh, we're German. We're different. Like, oh, not German. Sorry. We're fucking... we're Christian. We're different. Like, no, I have excommunicated the Magyars from the Turkic population in spite of the fact that they are Turks as well. Anyway, there's death coming now. Political movement, looking for independence from the Ottoman Empire in hopes of a unified Arab state that would include Palestine. Then there were Zionists, a political group that had one main goal: the creation of a Jewish state.
Yeah, Theodore Herzl.
Zionism was a response to an increasingly brutal climate for Jewish people, particularly in Europe and Russia, where there was a massive wave of anti-Semitism, including large-scale attacks in the late 1800s and early 1900s. After briefly considering other areas for a new state, including Uganda and Argentina, Zionist leaders decided on Palestine because...
Okay, that I did not know. They thought about Uganda and Argentina? That's crazy. What the fuck? Why? I knew about Theodore Herzl coming to the Ottoman Empire and being like, can we have Palestine, please? And the Ottoman Empire was like, no. There's a large Jewish population in Argentina, actually. That's crazy.
Because of its connection to early religious history. But there was a third key group with political interests here: the British.
Bro, I feel like if they did it in Argentina, there would be a second issue similar to, you know, the second issue, the Second World War. Because there are too many. Argentina happens to have the populations of all of the other Axis powers, with the exception of Japan. It's like more Italian than it is Latin American.
Control of the region would allow them to expand their spheres of influence and protect trade routes to India. During World War I, since both the British and the Arab independence movement wanted Palestine, they decided to go after the Ottomans together with an important pledge. Through a series of letters.
Yes, Bibi's brother died in a mission extracting Jews in Uganda. There was a decent diaspora there. No, it was the flight. I thought that was in Kenya, by the way. Was that in Uganda? Yes. Bibi Netanyahu was supposed to die on that mission alongside his brother in Uganda. Was it Uganda? But at the time, and still to this day, they have a rule in the Israeli forces where two brothers cannot join the same military operation, because if they do and they both die, then there's no succession of the family. So he literally didn't go, and his brother died. Why do people call him Bibi? I don't know. His name is Benjamin. They saw Saving Private Ryan and took it personally. No, what I'm saying is correct. That was Operation Solomon in Ethiopia. Yeah, I don't think it was Uganda. The airport. Yeah, Yoni Netanyahu was an Israeli military officer who commandeered the Sayeret Matkal during the Entebbe raid, launched a response in 1976, hijacking of an international civilian passenger flight from Israel to France by Palestinian and German militants. Bro, there was a point in time where the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine was just fucking yoinking planes like it was nobody's business. TrueAnon actually did a really fun episode on like plane hijacking. Back in the day, planes used to get hijacked all the fucking time. 9/11 kind of like solidified that it would never happen again. Yeah, he's Benjamin Netanyahu's brother. There is a huge Jewish population in Argentina currently and has been for decades. Stop assuming that everyone in here is just Nazis or anti-Semites. The idea that Argentina is full of Nazis is so far from the truth. Okay, first of all, we're joking. And second of all, if you noticed, I didn't just say Argentina is full of Nazis. I said Argentina is full of Axis power nationals, which is true. That's why you didn't hear me say that and instead hyper-focused on Germans. But that's not what I said. I said Axis powers, Italians specifically. And not only that, but I also said Argentina has more Italians than they do Latinos, which is fucking true. So what the fuck are you yelling about? It is more Italian, is it not? Why did you why, my Argentinian chatter, did you choose to get fucking mad and yell about an entirely unrelated thing to the joke that I was making? Brazil has the largest Japanese diaspora outside of Japan. South America is just wild with Axis power nationals. Well, Brazil is also wild with Axis power nationals too. RG here. No, we are not more Italian than Latin American. Please stop saying that shit. Okay, well, I'm joking. But anyway. Damn, bro, we can't even make fun of Argentina. Dude. If you can't make fun of Argentina, then, I mean, which is like the most common Latin American meme, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Then all that's left is the Nazi Brazilians. You know what I mean? If it's not true, it's a joke. I mean, it's an exaggeration. That's what jokes are. To be fair to the Argentinians, though, I wouldn't want to be called Italian either. That's fair. All right, let's continue.
Letters in 1916, an Arab leader and a British...
Yeah, how about everyone in Argentina focus on your fucking ANCAP guy who's gonna, I think, like, blow up the Fed or something? Yeah, how about you guys worry about that instead of anything else? Or, yeah, the cultural... Kyle Rittenhouse Cultural Center. Yeah, the guy wants to do organ trade in the free market and like sell children. Yeah, Argentina has the most Italians outside of Italy. Yeah, I know. Leading immigration countries of Italians as of 2021. That's crazy that like America doesn't even have enough. Latino isn't an ethnicity. There's people with different backgrounds. Oh, man, I was joking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I will never make a joke ever again. I'm sorry. You guys are right. To all the Argentinians, I'm so wrong. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's continue. Let's just watch this.
Official agreed that if Arabs would help the British fight the Ottomans and give the British economic and other foreign privileges in Arab lands, in return, the British would recognize and support an independent Arab state. Soon, the Arabs started doing their part in revolting against the Ottomans, making it easier for the British to move in. But the next year, the British issued a new declaration and betrayed the Arabs.
In 1917,
Shocking.
Lord Allenby.
Shocking that, I mean, listen, North Africa and Palestine and that entire region is filled to the brim with people finding out after the fact that perhaps aligning with European colonial powers was not better in the emancipatory struggle against the Ottoman Empire. And this isn't like a I told you so moment. I'm just like literally, demonstrably, it was just fucking awful. And many of those nations never really recovered. Some of which had to also then additionally have their own violent post-colonial, anti-colonial struggles. They betrayed the Assyrians too. They lied and told the Arabs and Assyrians that they, if they rebelled, they will give them independence. Yeah, it's all, like, everybody loves watching, what's that fucking movie? The classic, the handsome guy, Lawrence of Arabia, is that what it is? It's like the British coming in, they loved telling Arabs, you know, hey, guess what? You guys are going to be totally so chill. So fucking chill. We're going to save you guys so hard. And then they never did that. What's up? Why do I give her a treat? She's been a good girl? Okay. Hello? 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 You want this? Okay, go ahead.
They conquered the Holy Land, and the Jews were promised a national home in Palestine.
Without consulting the native Palestinian population.
When you read all about post-colonial history, why do you think America, as bad as it is, was worse than Britain? First of all, I've never said that. And secondly, at that point, it's like, it's a race to the bottom. You're making a comparison between, like, the worst of all worlds, and I'm more so focused on, like, at least contemporary history. Like, you know, America in contemporary history is significantly worse.
Population, the British issued what's known as the Balfour Declaration, supporting the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. So instead of supporting the idea of Palestine as part of a unified and independent Arab state, the British pledged to help secure this land for Zionists. It was a strategic move. This declaration
is such a wild moment because they're like, oh shit, dude, it's perfect. Like, we were literally looking for a place to send every Jewish person. Like, it doesn't matter if people love it now, okay? At the time, they literally were like, hey, I know you live here, but wouldn't you love living somewhere else? And certainly there were people at the time who were like, okay, well, my neighbors want to fucking kill me, so I'd rather go try shit out in this other area, right? But it is wild that, like, so many European countries were like, please do not stay in Europe.
Declaration opened up a pathway for Britain to gain power in Palestine.
under the guise that it was supporting the self-determination of another people, of a people in Palestine who don't reside there yet.
As for Palestine's majority Arab population, the declaration referred to them as non-Jewish communities, who would be given civil and religious rights, but not political rights. A few years later, after World War I ended, Britain gained control of Palestine through a mandate that also required them to put the Balfour plans for Jewish settlement in motion. And they did. Between 1922 and 1931, the Jewish population more than doubled. The migration helped the Zionist movement gain steam, and a slogan took off: a land without people for a people without land.
And it sends a
Like, they did have a land. Like, it's insane to say that. Bro, they were your neighbors, dog. Like, the fuck? And also, a land without people? Fuck you mean a land without people? Not any part of this is correct. There was motherfuckers there. Okay? There were people there. And also, the people without land were your neighbors.
message to Western leaders that the people who had been living in Palestine for generations could just be easily moved elsewhere. The idea was that those inhabitants weren't a people with ties to that land.
Palestine was, of course, a land with a people. In 1931, there were more than 850,000 Palestinian Arabs in the region, still the vast majority. But with the rise of Hitler,
I think it's because early on in Europe, there was actually no reason to stay in most parts of it. That's the reason the Vikings, for example, engaged in raiding. It's easier to live in the south of Europe / the Mediterranean. Yeah, but we're not talking, at that point, we're not talking about like Viking raid Europe. We're talking about like the end part of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. You know what I mean? Like, these are well-established post-industrial these are well-established industrialized nation states. They're no longer existing in like a feudal state whatsoever.
and the Nazi Party in particular.
Hate became a rallying call.
Jewish flight from Europe became even more urgent, and Palestine started to see the biggest wave of Jewish immigration yet. Violence broke out, rooted in tensions over land. Jewish settlers purchased swaths of fertile land and evicted tenant farmers, creating a crisis of hundreds of thousands of landless, dispossessed Palestinian Arabs.
Yep.
Though Palestinians fiercely rebelled against both British colonial forces and Jewish settlers.
This is why there's also a history of socialist formations in Palestine in particular, because it was like landlords coming in and just being like, yeah, fuck off. Who did they buy the land from? Yeah, much to consider. Viking guy talking about Palestine like the Crusader was just fighting ghosts. No, he's just, I think he fucked up the history or the age.
They were brutally crushed by the British.
They put in Palestine more troops to repress that rebellion than they had stationed in India.
For real, who sold? Wait, what do you mean? It was British occupation at that point. It's post World War I, chatter. Hello? Like, who do you think owns the land at that point? It's the British and the Egyptians. So what ended up happening was, although there were fucking Palestinians living there, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna sell you guys this land because we wanna put you here anyway." So one part of this that is that's an issue is, yeah, official name was British Mandate of Palestine. Ironically, Jewish Palestinians exist. Yes, unironically, yes, I know they do. There were Jews that lived there. There were Christians that lived there. There were Muslims that made up the largest number of people that lived there. Anyway, Egypt was also a British protectorate at the time, so 100% just the British fault. Yes. They owned everything. And guess what? When they sold the land or raised property taxes so that nobody could fucking purchase the land or maintain the land, and then they sold it off, they turned around and they fucking forcibly expelled you. It's still ridiculous. Like, the people of Palestine have just been colonized on the jump.
Yeah, at that time, all of India.
These troops killed thousands of Palestinians, including many of their leaders, and the British began training and arming Zionist militias to suppress the rebellion too. But the rebellion continued. So, in an attempt to prevent further Palestinian resistance, the British began to limit Jewish immigration into Palestine. This ended up angering Zionist extremists, leading to more violence. So, in 1947, after decades of trying to manipulate both Palestinian Arabs and Zionists to keep their control over Palestine, Britain gave up and handed the question of Palestine to someone else.
To the United Nations also came the problem of Palestine. In recent years, this small country had been the scene of disorder and bloodshed.
They figured, there is this new thing called the United Nations. Here, in your lap, Palestine, first gift. So the United Nations has now to figure out, how do you disentangle this thing that the British helped create?
A UN special committee proposed the land be divided into two states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem as a separate UN control.
With your stream, I'm at the gym and all the news on just portrays as a terrorist attack and provides no background info as to why. Just pray for Israel. I don't know how the mainstream can be educated. Well, that's why I try and do it as best as I can. Anyone that says that yesterday's actions were unprovoked is either A, completely misinformed, or B, purposely lying to you. They want to manipulate you. It's insane to say that, like, any Palestinian action is unprovoked at this point. Okay? That's why this information is incredibly important to understand. Oh.
Controlled entity. It was called the Partition Plan of 1947. The plan shocked Palestinians.
We could not accept the partition plan because at that time the population, we were almost 2-to-1.
But the plan proposed giving over half the land and often the most fertile areas to the Jewish state.
From a purely pragmatic perspective, the partition plan didn't make much sense for Palestinian Arabs.
That wasn't the only problem with the plan. Within this proposed area of the Jewish state were hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs, including both Muslims and Christians, who had lived there for generations.
On a moral level, the idea of making hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs minorities in their own homeland seemed unjust and unfair.
In November 1947, the UN...
Yeah, I mean, but it's a landless place, you know? I mean, it's a peopleless land, you know? It's a little bit unjust. Yeah. Leave it to the fucking Euro dogs to come up with a good solution.
UN put the plan to a vote. In the aftermath of the Holocaust, and after lobbying from U.S. leaders and Zionists, the UN voted in favor of partition.
And finally, a momentous decision to partition the Holy Land's 10,000 square miles.
Britain announced their mandate over Palestine would end on May 15, 1948. Even as Palestinians continued to reject the UN's decision to partition the land.
After the partition took place, in 1947, we really were scared something might happen to us.
By the end of 1947, Zionists had several well-developed paramilitary...
Guys, listen, the United Nations has also said no to Israel pretty much since its inception. They've gone like this every time. Every year they go like this. Hey, Israel, knock it out. You got to stop having an apartheid state, please. So they've done a lot of good stuff, really. They've done great stuff. You stop it now, please. And then America's like, lol, no. It's so funny. Fuck, what was that in the shit? I forget what year this was, but I remember every single nation involved in the United Nations said that the embargo on Cuba must end, except for what? Israel and the United States of America. Israel and the United States of America. Or food is a human right. That was another one. Just FYI, that slogan is being slightly misrepresented. It was a rallying cry to get people to immigrate to areas that actually weren't populated to start kibbutzim. It wasn't saying the entirety of Palestine was empty. Okay, thank you. That was actually very informative. I'm not being sarcastic. Yeah, oh, here it is. Entire world votes 185-2 against the blockade of Cuba. U.S. and Israel are the rogue states at the UN. For the 30th year in a row, almost every country on earth voted at the United Nations to oppose the 6-decade U.S. blockade of Cuba. Do you want to know who the one abstention was? Ukraine. Oh, well, Brazil too. Actually. So they won 85-2, and what happens? What do you mean what happens? You can't do anything. You can't say anything. Yeah, no, not Lula's Brazil, Bolsonaro's Brazil. But you can't do anything to America, chat. That's why we're laughing at the UN. The UN is worthless. Yeah, it was under Bolsonaro. It's all symbolic. It's all for every country to turn back and go, man, you guys are, don't do that. And yet, the funniest part is, bro, the UN, every time Israel kills a kid.
Hey, yo, what up? It's Cody. You know, I got a bigotry. Knock it off. Crime. Knock it off. Robbing banks. Knock it off. Not saying thanks. Knock it off.
Yeah, that's what the UN does every time. And then it doesn't end there, because Zionists or ultra-nationalist, like ranging from liberal Zionism to like ultra-nationalist Israeli defenders, will get so fucking mad anytime the UN says, hey, Israel, knock it off, okay? They get so mad. They're like, what about Saudi Arabia? What about all these other places? It's like, you don't care about anybody else. You only care about fucking Israel because you guys are all anti-Semitic. And it's like, bro, they built Israel. Like, what do you mean? Israel, they made you, dog. They made you. Fuck you mean? They have no power. Let him at least go knock it out. Knock it off. Don't do it. Anyway, like 7-ish countries that make up the Security Council member nations have veto power over anything. Yes, the Security Council veto power needs to be eliminated, except like it doesn't matter. Every international cooperative, every international formation is always used at the behest of the United States of America. It is yet another demonstration of America's hegemonic power. Anyway, let's continue with this Nakba.
The largest one, known as the Haganah.
We haven't even gotten to the Nakba yet, which is like the most brutal part of it.
And more extremist militias like Irgun. On March 10th, a couple of months before the British mandate would end, the Haganah adopted what was called Plan Dalit, or Plan D. On paper, the main goal was to gain control of the Jewish state, as laid out in the partition plan, while also defending Jewish settlements outside of the borders. In reality, that's where the majority of these operations took place, outside of the UN's proposed Jewish state. Some carried out by Haganah and others by more radical militias. Many of these operations focused on isolating Jerusalem and the roads to it. A set of brutal instructions called for the destruction of Arab villages by setting fire to, blowing up, and planting mines, especially those population centers which were difficult to control. In case of resistance, it called for the population to be expelled outside of the borders of the state.
By the way, to this day, the villainous actions and the vicious defense of this is so crazy, because they'll say, and even in Western media, they actually cover it as such, and this is really disgusting. people voluntarily left their houses. To this day, they say, when talking about the Nakba, they say people voluntarily, like textbooks literally say, like you're reading a fucking Turkish textbook on the Armenian genocide, okay? They literally will openly write that this is, people voluntarily left their homes.
Villages emptied, and for the occupation and control of Arab villages along main transportation arteries. One of the most widely publicized village massacres happened here in Deir Yassin.
We lived in Deir Yassin, which is about 4 miles west of Jerusalem.
91-year-old Dawood Assad was there the day of the massacre and was 18 at the time.
We saw one night, the night before, a movement of lights, armored trucks moving around, moving like this. So we know that something is wrong. That's why we knew that something is going to happen to our village.
On April 9th, 1948.
800,000 totally voluntary exits. Yeah, dude. Pacman always argued every state came into existence this way, so it's okay. Ridiculous. Yeah, this is, I think, David Pacman, who I think has, some decent takes. A lot of things I agree with. This is the one point of convergence between himself and myself, for sure. I don't agree with him on that. I think it's crazy. I mean, he's right. That is how every nation state formed, except the entire point is like we've moved beyond it, right? Like we're supposed to be against that sort of thing. Or divergence, not convergence. Sorry. Dude, I'm fucking tired today. Holy shit. Yeah. Yes, you guys got me. Divergence.
Extremist Zionist forces, executing Plan D, closed in on Deir Yassin, even though the village had made a local peace pact with neighboring Jewish settlements.
Friday morning, they attacked us. My uncles, they were shooting at them, and I was there loading the gun for them and shooting. We fought about.
That's pretty anti-Semitic of him, if you think about it, though. Just, don't think about it any further.
Almost 2.5 hours. They found my uncle, and they put him on the wall, and they shot him 8 bullets in cold blood. My grandmother, she went in the village to see my mother.
You are both crazy. That is not how states are built. What the hell? Wait, what? Of course. A lot of states are built on acts of colonial violence, mass displacement. The fuck? The point is, it's not supposed to happen now. It's not supposed to happen so close to World War II. Ultimately, the entire thing is like, oh, well, it goes back like too long in the past. So now we just kind of live here. I don't know of a formation of a state that has not built on violence. But like, if this happened tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I was about to say, what if this was happening right now, where a large power, a large regional power, was maybe forcibly expanding its state boundaries into an area where it claims it has historical claim to. Like, I don't know, let's say it's in Eastern Europe. Like, for example, if that was happening, right? If that was happening, everyone would go, hey, that's really fucked up, actually. Maybe that's not allowed. Maybe that shouldn't be allowed, as a matter of fact. Maybe, just maybe, the entire world would even get together, especially the Western world. Maybe not the third world, because they're like, yeah, fuck you guys. This is your problem. I don't give a shit. And we'll get together and be like, we are going to give you as many guns as you possibly can have, as a matter of fact. Motherfucker said China. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. China. Not bad, Alon?
Her way, she got shot. My brother Omar fell.
And maybe there'd be reactionaries in such invaded country, but people didn't paint the whole country to be Nazis. Yeah, maybe even in this community, as a matter of fact, someone always said that Ukrainians have a right to emancipation, and Russia's actions in Ukraine will probably cause a much more reactionary formation to seize power long after and cause blowback. And the way to stop that is always the same. Stop doing colonial violence. Bad take. The third world definitely cares. Where does their food come from? That's funny. It's a great opportunity for you to at least like look at what's going on. Not necessarily that it's like significant, but if you think that most of the developing nations are legitimately on the same tip as far as the Western formation on Ukraine, I don't know what to tell you. Who comes from the third world? No, he's not wrong. He's saying that like Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe, even though it's not. It's the breadbasket of the third world. That's what he's saying. That's why he's saying that. Ukrainian wheat is important for developing nations. But ultimately, regardless of that, they're still not in the same, not as feverishly in support of Ukraine as like America and England is. Ukrainian wheat.
From his shoulder to the floor, but the floor was a concrete one.
Dawood escaped through a trench.
I went down all the way down here like this. So it was 4 hours walking to Jerusalem.
To this day, the archive of the Israeli army refuses to release many of the images and intelligence reports on Deir Yassin. But one UN report detailed circumstances of great savagery, including women and children stripped, lined up, photographed, and slaughtered. Roughly 100 people, largely children and the elderly, were killed in the village. As for Dawood, he later reunited with the group of Deir Yassin captives in Jerusalem, including his sister and mother.
My mother says, "Where is your Uncle Radwan?" He says he was shot. "Where is your grandmother?" He said he was shot, and Umar was with her. So everybody has a commotion, you know. Where is Fatima? Where is Ibrahim? Where is Amaryam? Where is David? Where is Ahmed? Where is Ismail? I'm a dream about it, you know.
News of what happened in Deir Yassin spread quickly, with far-reaching effects.
The Zionist militias used it as a propaganda tool to tell people about it everywhere. The idea was that if you don't leave, we will do to you what happened in Deir Yassin.
Stories came out about women being raped, about babies being killed, and induced a great deal of fear among the Palestinian Arab population, many of them fleeing as a result.
There's photos.
Jewish troops routed Arab forces from the city of Haifa.
After taking Deir Yassin, Zionist paramilitary groups cleared major cities, including Haifa and Jaffa, and took hundreds of smaller villages and towns too. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced to flee, pouring into neighboring states as refugees.
Once again, I need to repeat something. This is, in most textbooks, treated as voluntarily leaving. Okay? In most textbooks, they treat this as voluntarily leaving the country and their homes.
Refugees. Plan D became the blueprint for carrying out the ethnic cleansing of historic Palestine to make room for a new state. And on May 14th, the day before the British mandate ended, Zionists declared this state as Israel.
Bro, I was talking to someone who's a very well-read, very intelligent person yesterday who did not know that Israel was formed in 1948. Like, they were legitimately shocked. I was like, wait, when do you think Israel was formed? He's like, well, I don't know, like a couple hundred years ago. I'm not even kidding. Like, literally. Like, people don't know. Like, Americans don't learn about any of this shit. They're like, what? Israel's not been around for that long? Like, what the fuck's going on? It is shocking how little this kind of shit is taught in schools. So much so that I believe it might be by design. You know what I mean? Sounds like they weren't particularly well read then, right? No, I think a lot of Americans can be very well read and not know anything about history, and everything they learn about history is like super propagandized. Because Bible timeline. Because people always do that. This goes back 2,000 years bullshit. No, I don't think he was like particularly propagandized in that direction. Are you saying it's a Jewish conspiracy? Wait, what? My understanding, the war in 1948, there were leaflets telling Arabs to leave while the invasion happened. Just saying, man. Really? Not only did you cynically fucking try to claim that I'm saying that it's a Jewish conspiracy, okay? If anything, it would yet again not be a Jewish conspiracy. It would be a British and Western imperialist conspiracy. So you're not just saying. And secondly, you literally just, how can you in the same breath accuse someone of saying anti-Semitic shit while simultaneously literally adopting the exact same techniques that Nazis, still to this day, neo-Nazis, utilize when describing certain aspects of the Holocaust? How can you do that in the same fucking breath, dude? Oh, dude, there was a leaflet? That's crazy. What's next? Are you going to tell me that, like, Israel is the most moral army on the planet because they actually do a knocker? They throw a dud on top of the fucking building that they destroy moments later? How benevolent, man. That's so crazy. I think it makes it totally appropriate to run the world's largest open-air prison at that point. Not cynical. I like that you are bringing this up, but the issue is you're saying history is not being taught. Why? 1948 was an awful year. What? Bro, have you actually seen an American textbook? Do you know the endless amount of shit that Americans are completely oblivious to? I have other well-read friends who are completely oblivious to the reality of Renaissance and Reformation, as a matter of fact. They just don't know. They do not fucking learn about it in school. It's crazy.
But the creation of Israel didn't end the Nakba. Neighboring Arab countries that were overwhelmed by Palestinian refugees immediately went to war with Israel.
Now united in a League of Arab States, they are insistent that the entry of refugees into Palestine must be ended.
The fighting lasted for months. Arab armies eventually lost while Palestinians continued to be killed and forced out throughout that time. Palestinians who fled often carried only enough to stay away for a few weeks, hoping they'd eventually return home.
A lot of them locked their doors, put their key in their pocket, and then moved to safer ground. When you leave the house and you take your key with you, it's because you're planning to go home. In the case of the Palestinians, those refugees weren't allowed to return.
Refugees trying to return were often shot at. Zionist paramilitary operations also tried to prevent them from returning again by destroying the villages.
That act of preventing their return compounded the Nakba. So the Nakba is both the forcible displacement of Palestinians from their homes and lands and country, as well as preventing them to return once the fighting was over.
Palestinian society was dismembered, crushed. More than half of the Palestinian people became refugees, stateless, dispossessed of their land.
Over time, the state of Israel covered up the physical evidence.
If the Arabs put down their weapons today, there would be no more violence. If the Jews put down their weapons today, there would be no more Israel. You're joking, right? Because I hear that all the fucking time. No. If the Israeli military put down its weapons today, there would most likely be infinitely less violence. You have it backwards. I hope you understand that. That's all they have is bumper sticker slogans like, dude, what do you think happens in the West Bank, dog? Huh? Go ahead. Explain that shit to me. Every single time someone who is a defender of Zionism comes to you and says, this fucking bullshit, which is patented bumper sticker ass Zionist propaganda, ask them, so what about the fucking West Bank then? What did the people in the fucking West Bank do? Why did you steal their homes? Okay? I'm not even talking about the Nakba now, not the existence of the Israeli state being built on top of, like, you know, the expulsion and forcible expulsion and killings of the existing population there. But, like, right now, there is a peaceful coexistence project in the West Bank. Do you think that they're peaceful? Do you think that the situation is good? Explain that to me. You know? Explain that to me. It's a Netanyahu quote. I know Netanyahu is also a Holocaust revisionist. You want to talk about that too? I am in fact joking and support Palestine. Oh, okay. Chief 3Z, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, by the way. Allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. I forgot to run the top of the hour ad break. I have a headache. It's been 6 hours of nonstop coverage. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Evidence of an Arab Palestine. Place names were often changed from Arabic ones to Hebrew ones. The Jewish National Fund embarked on a massive effort to plant thousands of acres of pine forests and recreational areas on top of hundreds of ruined Palestinian villages.
Even though these forests have now grown into big pine trees, Palestinians have not forgotten their homelands.
While we know that roughly 6,000 Israelis lost their lives in
It's actually insane that I, as someone whose family has been in the U.S. since before the first Zionist Congress, can return to Israel, but Palestinians who literally lived in the area 75 years ago are kept out. Yes, that is by design. Also, let's say you live in the West Bank right now. You're a fucking Palestinian Christian, you're a Palestinian Arab, and you live in the West Bank. Okay, you're not an Israeli citizen, and you live in your fucking designated home, your familial home that you've been living in for generations. And you leave, you are not allowed back into West Bank to your fucking house. You can't leave. You can't fucking leave. Israel will go, all right, well, you can't come back. Sorry, you left. Why? Why? Explain that to me. Explain that shit to me, that you could be some fucking dumbass, okay, from motherfucking Long Island, and you can fly over there and be like, this is my house now. But if you've lived there for 7 fucking generations, okay, you can't have your house back. Sorry, you left. Like, this is the actual policy. And there are still motherfuckers who try to defend it, dude. That is so insane. How? How? How can you sit there and be like, this violence is unprovoked? This violence is unprovoked. This violence is unprovoked. It's not unprovoked. It is an apartheid state. And no, that's not me. I've been saying that for years, but I'm not alone anymore in saying that. The Human Rights Watch is saying that. Amnesty International is saying that. Bro, you are full of shit. You are not even living there. Suck my fucking entire cock, you fucking genocide defending, apartheid state supporting piece of shit. The only way you can fucking cope with how grim the reality is by just going, la 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 la, I can't hear you. You must be lying. Dumb bitch.
In the violence of the Nakba, records for Palestinian deaths weren't kept. It's estimated to be around 15,000. By the end of the Nakba, roughly 7.
Since 2005, your opinion is consensus internationally outside of USA? Yeah, brother. But since 2009, I've been living in the United States of America, where that opinion is not consensus still to this fucking day.
$750,000 Palestinians had been forcefully expelled.
Again, stop defending terrorism. Brother, I am not defending the Israeli state, okay? As a matter of fact, this is a criticism of the Israeli state. Don't come in here and fucking cry, okay?
And more than 500 villages destroyed. Though the UN's partition plan allotted Israel 56% of the land, through the Nakba, Israel captured 78% of the land. It was everything except what's now known as the occupied West Bank and Gaza.
Are you mixing up Jerusalem residency and West Bank residency? Israel has a policy target of 60+% Jewish for Jerusalem. I haven't heard that about the West Bank. Yeah, that's the Israeli state openly doing ethnic cleansing in Jerusalem and ethnic displacement in Jerusalem. The policy in the West Bank is the exact same as the policy in Jerusalem, even if they don't fucking openly state what their target demographic displacement number is. Also, where the fuck is Jerusalem, I wonder? Where could Jerusalem be? Oh, I forgot that if Jared Kushner and Donald Trump decide that it's actually Israel now, then it's actually Israel now. There's a reason why that occupied West Bank map that you look at now is full of fucking holes, because they partitioned it. They call it occupied West Bank because they're fucking occupying it, which is, again, illegal. Okay? It's illegal.